What's going on, everybody? Today I want to talk about 4-piece Shal'Baas, even 6-piece Shal'Baas potentially, and really dive into whether or not we can use it on some other classes besides the Demon Hunter. Let's get into it. So the reason why I want to test this is because you can see here as we're running through Shal'Baas, the primary attack damage is increased by 15% at a 2-piece, and then at a 4-piece, our primary attacks will increase our primary attack speed up to a maximum of 25%, which is a very interesting proposition. Are we going to get more damage from getting our primary attack speed increase as we're fitting them in to all of our abilities, or will we get more damage from just running a straight up Grace set? If you have not seen my previous video, we've kind of established that 6-piece or a 4-piece Grace plus a 2-piece Shal'Baas, or a 2-piece Bithus or something like that combination is going to be generally the best option on the wizard. And so we're going to compare those two here and compare the damage per second if we were just running a 4-piece Shal'Baas versus a Grace set on the wizard. So while we're in the challenge rift here, I'll go ahead and showcase how this works. Every single time we attack, you can see that we get an additional stack of War Rags of Shal'Baas. This can stack up to 5 times as we continuously hit here. And unfortunately, if we just go into the menu here and check out our attack speed, we do not actually get bonus attack speed from the Shal'Baas. It is literally only primary attacks. If I just go ahead and channel my beam here, and you can see the beam kind of use the energy, and then as we stack up 5 stacks, it is the same rate at which the beam consumes energy. So based on this, really the only value we're getting from this is the additional primary attack damage followed by the primary attack speed. Now, as the wizard, you do use a fair amount of primary attacks when we're talking about a long, elongated fight. But if you're talking about just a regular fight, we are not using a ton of primary attacks because we're generally just going to drop our full combo as seen here, and then burst someone and then move on to the next fight. Which means that we really need to get a bunch of damage out from this in order for it to be anyway viable, which means we need to look at a very long fight because that's the only way it'll be viable. But even then, is it better than Grace set? Let's go check it out at the Blood Rose. So here we are at the Blood Rose, and the Blood Rose has 8.9 million HP. Up on top, you see the 4-piece Shal'Baas plus a 2-piece Grace set. And then at the bottom, you're going to have a 6-piece Grace set. There might be another combination here with the Shal'Baas that we could run. Potentially, I don't know, a 2-piece Bithus if you want to go ahead and work in some buffs or something like that. I'm not quite sure. I thought the Grace set, because we are using some channeling abilities, would be a very solid choice. Again, the reason why I'm testing this is because I want to see if over a long period of fight, the extra primary attack speed as well as the extra primary attack damage would work well. You can see at the top, I try to keep up 5 stacks throughout the entirety of a battle. I drop it a couple times, but for the most part, we're weaving in the auto attacks as we go through and really keeping up those 5 stacks. Overall, there was a couple mistakes at the bottom as well, so I think it kind of evens out. It's not a perfect test, but it's very clear that the Grace really shines here. You can see already we're at 4.5 million at the bottom and 4.9 million at the top, and we're trying to reach down to 1 million. It is really clear, to me at least, that the Grace really outshines. Keep in mind that the only scenario that Shal'Baas really could be viable, in my opinion, is something like this, where we're fighting a boss for a long period of time. Because when we're talking about burst damage, Grace takes the cake without a doubt. Keep in mind, you have to keep attacking to keep up the primary attack speed, and if you're doing that and you're not hitting someone, you're going to drop the stacks. And this is actually a pretty important thing. I did not know that you had to hit someone in order for Shal'Baas 4-piece set to kind of stack and be active. This is even important information for Demon Hunters to know, because it's not just you can walk around and hit and just shoot and then keep up your stacks. You actually have to hit someone, and so if you're not near someone, you can actually drop it off very quickly. And because of this information, I'm leaning more and more towards Bithus as we keep on going. Right there, you can see I paused it. It was about 2 minutes and 6 seconds and about 500 milliseconds there. when we reached 1 million damage. You can see up top, we're at 2 minutes, 18 seconds, and that's where the test finished. We took about 10 extra seconds, more than 10 extra seconds, to get to the same HP threshold at the top as the bottom, and that is because Shal'Baas just doesn't do as much for the wizard as I'd hoped. Now, the same would apply to most other classes, unless you really had a lot of primary attack benefits, like you were getting extra primary attack damage, etc., etc. There is something that I did think about as the wizard, because you have the Force of Herakus weapon that you could run instead of the exact same build that we were running, which is, by the way, the same Firestorm build as I was running in the other tests. It was a simple Disintegrate, as well as the Arcane Wind, that's the Tornado, and then the Cloned Ice, Ray of Frost. Those are just going to be your standard skills that you're going to use most dungeons. If you were to run the Force of Herakus, you could not run the Wind Shaper, which means you can't run the Arcane Wind, so you need an entirely different build. The only problem with that is that this is some of the highest DPS wizard skills, so it's very, very difficult to go ahead and replace that and not have Grace and keep up with Grace, so I did not decide to do that. Very, very interesting test, though, and it's very, very clear to me that Shal'Baas is really only a Demon Hunter set, but I'll go over a little bit more in just a moment. So overall, the Shal'Baas set is a solid supplement as a 2-piece in potential scenarios, as we went over previously with the Grace 4-piece Shal'Baas 2-piece. But the 4-piece version is going to be very, very difficult to get a lot of use out of unless you're a Demon Hunter. There's a couple of classes that I think could get potentially solid use out of it, but may not even be better than the sets that they'd want to run. Some things come to mind as Monk, as well as Barbarian, and then potentially Crusader. Those are the 3 classes that I can think of. The Crusader, you're going to be diving into battle with your horse, and then you can stack up the damage beforehand, or stack up your primary attack speed. Keep in mind, though, if we just click here and then don't hit anyone, we're not going to stack it up. So Crusader's kind of iffy, and you're not going to get the Vithus proc on your banner for the attack speed increase, which is just better in my opinion oftentimes. So I don't think Crusader is very, very viable. Barb, on the other hand, I could see potentially getting a lot of damage out of it in PvE content, because you're going to stack it up, get your primary attack speed increased by Frenzy, and then use Shal'Baas 4-piece. However, is that better than some other sets? I don't know. I don't think so, but I have not tested it on the Barb. And the last one, Monk. The only reason I say this one is because you can start teleporting a lot quicker because of your primary attacks, and in PvE it doesn't have a cooldown, so you could get some use out of that. Overall, not a huge fan of the 4-piece Shal'Baas in terms of outside of the Demon Hunter. It seems like it's a pure Demon Hunter set. And that's okay. I just wanted to test it and see if I could get some really, really solid damage. But as you saw, we wasted, more than 10 seconds on that fight. So overall, those are my thoughts. Let me know what you think about Shal'Baas set. Are you finding a use for it outside of the Demon Hunter? Let me know in the comments down below, and I will see you for the next one.